I have a memory in here, believe it or not.
Oh, you do?
Yes, yes.
So, what was it? Let's talk about it. This is such a neat door. First, can you talk about this door? You don't see things like this anymore.
No, you don't. Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh,
Fine.
okay.
We can talk about this.
All right, sure. Well, I don't remember if the door was closed or open most of the time. I suppose it should have been closed when we were students. But obviously, I mean, this building is so solidly made with the thick brick walls and this door, like you're saying, you know, you just really don't see that. They have a counterweight over there to help, you know, when you're trying to pull it open to disperse some of that weight. You know, my memory of this particular doorway is actually one of fright. I was really a very, very shy young man, which did not fit my size. I was always tall for my age, but I was always kind of like scared of things. And there was a machine right in the hallway here where you could clean the erasers. And it must have had brushes on it. And there was a bag that would catch the chalk dust. And, you know, the teacher would ask some of the better, more dependable students to go clean the erasers. I mean, those were the felt erasers, not the rubber ones. And I just hated to go in there because the machine made a funny noise. I mean, a loud noise. Not to mention the fact it didn't look real brand new. And I was really scared to turn that thing on, but I didn't want to admit that I was scared. You know? So I was always hoping the teacher would pick somebody else to go clean the erasers. And I'm guessing that might have been like first or second grade, basically.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm trying to think. I must have started here in 53 in kindergarten. That's when I would have been 6. So and I graduated high school in 65 if the math works out right. But anyway, there was a machine right inside there to clean the old felt erasers. So, and it scared me. Over here, this was my kindergarten room. This was my first experience at McKinley. And to be honest, I kind of hated being away from home. I was a little bit of a homebody and scared of new situations. My mom had taken time off from teaching in order to care for my sister when she was born, you know, for a few years. So I was leaving her and coming down here was all a little scary. My teacher was Mrs. Penfound, and her husband, at the time, they were later divorced, was Ron Penfound, and he was a well-known TV personality in the Cleveland area. And he had a children's show called Captain Penny. And he wore this railroad hat and everything, and we all watched, well, I didn't have a TV until later, but we would sometimes go to the neighbor's house and watch Captain Penny. And one day he came to visit our class. That was really, really cool. The room that you just went into, I don't know, Amy, what is this?
That's the office now.
That's the office, okay. Well, we had, there were huge sink tub back here where we could clean our paintbrushes for arts and craft. I mean, the space was enormous for the teacher, and this whole room plus this back area. I remember that we all had a rug and we had to have nap time. I mean, come on. what kid's really ready to take a nap in the middle of the morning, you know, or afternoon, whichever one you had, you know. I remember making a full costume for probably for Thanksgiving. You know, it would be like a dry cleaning bag, but not plastic, you know, a big paper bag, and we cut fringes and decorated like an Indian costume. I don't know, that probably wouldn't be cool anymore. You know, they're indigenous people and all of that, but I remember doing things like that. So those are my memories of the basement on this end, okay?
Yeah. And they've been using this space in, you know, most recently for the library. So it's a nice space for that.
Hence all the shelves.
Shelving and the wood floors.
The floor is still the same. I napped on this floor.
Yeah, we had the same thing. We had our naps, and we took naps.
Yes, and nobody ever took a nap, like you said.
Yeah.
Too much excitement to take a nap, so I'm glad they learned from that stuff.
I don't remember there being a boys' restroom here. I thought it was at the other end.
There's a girls' restroom.
Okay.
Yeah, right, we passed it.
All right, well, my memory could be playing some tricks on me.
Yeah, we came through. That was, this area here is what they've been using as a nurse's area. And then it goes into one of the classrooms that they were using in third grade math, I think.
Well, we did not come in this door. We all came in the door that faced Sherman Street.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, I didn't even realize that was kind of like the front of the building when I was a student. To me, that was the front of the building because we always came in that door, and there would be a certain time that you were allowed in. They'd ring like the probably 5-minute buzzer, and everybody scrambled in off the playground, you know. Maybe they let us in earlier on cold days. I don't totally remember, but of course we went home for lunch. I believe we had an hour and a half to go home for lunch, nice long break. And one of my memories of that is I was a huge baseball fan, still am, although I don't like some of the modern strategies. But the World Series was always during the day in the 50s. And it just killed me to miss those afternoon games on the school days. And at lunch, I could catch like just a little bit of the first inning and then run to get back here, before the whatever time we had to be back. So I remember that. That would have been later in the 50s when we had a TV. You know, I think we probably got our TV around 56 or something like that. So yeah, when I started school, we still just had radio at our house, you know. So.
Did you typically, was your school day pretty comparable to today's school day in terms of 3 o'clock-ish dismissal time?
Yeah, it must have been. I don't remember the exact times. Like I was saying, we had that hour and a half off in the middle. I don't know how many hours they go now, but we maybe put in less time, or maybe we didn't get out till 3:30. I don't know, but it seems like the morning. Trying to remember if we had an hour and a half. It seemed like we had to be back at 1. So, that would mean, yeah, we probably were released about 11:30, and maybe we started at 8:30. I don't know. Would that be 3 plus 2 is 5? How many hours did the elementary go?
It's about 6-ish.
Yeah.
6.5.
But see, they have lunch in school now.
Yeah, and it's only a 25-minute
Yeah,
period.
yeah. But, you know, both parents working and all those sorts of things had to create those changes, certainly.
Oh, yeah.
I went home for lunch all the way through 8th grade. I remember going to 9th grade at Elyria High, how different that was being there all day, you know, after 9 years of having that big break in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I bet.
So anyhow, things obviously do change. So this in the middle, I don't have any particular memory of this. I mean, the building has changed, but the room over here, believe it or not, was our indoor phys ed room. And I don't think the room was any bigger because you got really solid walls there. This space in the middle there must have been something, storage or who knows what.
Sure.
But,
That's the nursing office.
Yeah.
okay. But we did have phys ed in this room when it was too cold to go out on the playground. And if you can imagine 30 people in here trying to play kickball or dodgeball or some type of game.
Not real big.
But of course the gymnasium and the new part was not there yet. And I see there's a screen on the radiator down there. We didn't have that. You know, we were expected to be smart enough not to touch the hot stuff.
They do get hot too.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, sure.
I think the majority of them in,
Are exposed.
like when
Yeah.
Ely was there and here are uncovered though.
Yeah, I remember that. That was probably when they turned this into a classroom then.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well, I have radiant heat in my house. I think it's great. Doesn't blow as much dust around. It is dry in the winter though. So,
On the dip down there, but
sure.
Some art here.
yeah.
You know, the more I think about it, I think that was the boys' restroom way down there and the girls up here.
I mean, it looks like it's been here a while.
Yeah, yeah. I just remember the doors always being open to go into the space, you know. And of course, these partitions were not here. I think this is a firewall type thing.
Yeah.
And all the buildings had those added later. I know Elyria High had them when I taught up there, but it was open right to the stairwell.
Yeah.
What is back here?
That's the girls' restroom there. And I think these are, boiler room and
There's the boiler room.
kind of a wash area.
So that's the other, this is the other side
Yes,
of
of
that.
that big utility door.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I noticed the boilers were in there.
Yeah, if you want to go in that room, Marty, while you're here, you can.
Yeah. Did they have doors on the restrooms when you were a kid? I don't think we did at my school.
I don't remember that if we did or we didn't.
Because I remember I never wanted to go to the bathroom at school if it was.
Right, yes. You know, I think we might have had doors. I think they started taking them off when kids were misbehaving behind the doors. but I don't truthfully remember that. This is an interesting
Yeah,
art piece here.
I thought so. The lights shine through it pretty much, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure who did that. Do you know who did this?
Somebody did tell me, and now it's escaping me. I can't remember who did it. But I saw the big horse, the Mustang, running Mustangs was done by Glenn Mittler in that big one that's in the library. Did you see that?
No,
I just took a picture of it. It's signed by him, and it says 96.
He did a lot of
He did a lot of art here. Yes, he did.
You know, you were talking about the door to the boiler room, but even like the door to the classroom, it's solid wood.
Yeah, and the handles too.
You know, and the handles are still in pretty darn good shape for as old as they are, and the transom above the doors, a way to let some air circulate without having to have the door open. Just a lot of neat features in old buildings like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the transoms are they were very beautiful at Ely too. They had very decorative panes in them, and yeah, they were pretty.
Well, even like in here, I needed some light, but the ceiling,
Yes.
the decorative ceiling, actually,
Architecturally
we have a
built,
dent there with some paint off.
What is this? Oh.
I'm going to have to pass on having a name for that.
It's hard to tell.
A lot of times those are made out of tin.
Yeah.
Sometimes plaster. This clearly is not plaster. I don't know. There's a break here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it is metal painted.
Yeah, it does.
You know, they might have done that just in this entryway because this was supposed to be the entry of the.
It's only not, it's changed just, 5 years ago? Maybe
Well,
a
when
little.
they cleaned up that entrance, when they made this the entrance.
Yeah, it's only been, a short period of time since this has been the entrance, so.
But I'm wondering way back in time if it was.
Right.
You know. So, but yeah, this looks like it was meant to be part of the building.
Now, this is the principal's office here.
Yeah.
Right there
That's
is
how
the
it's been
principal's.
used since this became the main entrance. The way they do it, we're doing it, is like you said, there's the lower grade levels, so the kindergarten through second grade does still enter through the main doors, and then older grades enter through the other doors, so they come in different places. So that actually was still happening.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Well, wait till I show you where our principal's office was.
I bet I know.
I
Is it
know.
on the second
Yes,
floor
all
here?
right.
Yeah, that's where it was when I started in the district. I remember Mr. Hall's office. Actually, it wasn't until Mrs. Fitch came that they moved the main office.
Well, yeah, that was when they changed the entrance. But that one door to the side of the glass office was the principal's office,
Right.
the one next to it.
Yeah, so when you used to come in here, you used to come in through this office door, and you have to go right up the stairs to go to the main office. Yeah, see, design flow to this part.
Right.
Whenever that,
Well, I'm sure that's original. Okay, well, I'm sure that somehow they reworked this stairwell. But our principal's office was halfway up.
Oh.
oh, see,
yeah.
that's different
Yeah, we
than we
didn't.
were saying.
Yeah, there was a room there,
Really?
but this,
Huh?
that stairwell had to have been changed because there isn't that much room there, obviously.
Yeah, these steps aren't quite worn as much as they should be for 100-plus-year-old building.
I think that they did,
Because when you go in other buildings this age, the steps are like concave from where you step on them,
right.
and these aren't. So it was right here.
Yep, right there.
Wow. So what grade was this? Were you ever in this room?
Well, this was my mom's room.
Was it?
She started back teaching when I was in first grade. And of course, she was not my teacher, but this was her room for 10 years. And unfortunately, she died of cancer in 1963, right before the school year ended. That was devastating to us. She was the rock of our family. I didn't realize at the time how devastating it would have been to her students as well, you know.
And what was her name?
Evelyn Bird. She went in for an operation at spring break. And I don't know how long she might have been having problems prior to that, but she had pancreatic cancer and died in early June. So in one sense, lucky that she didn't linger. I don't know if she didn't say if she was having health problems. Yeah, I was 16, you know, 16-year-olds are self-centered, focused on their own world, you know. But I was pretty stunned the day that I realized that she wasn't going to get better. Our family's belief was not to tell the kids, even though I was a teenager. And one day I got it. It's like, oh my Lord, she's not going to get better, you know. And that was confirmed. But this was her final stop. She had taught at Edison, Jefferson, Ely, and out in a one-room school on Murray Ridge of 4 grades, not 8. So anyhow, we all remember the cloakrooms where you hung your duds, and the bad students sometimes had to go stand in the coat room for a period of time if they were disrupting the class.
I know they still use that room to hang their
Well, sure,
coats and their backpacks.
sure, absolutely.
I think that cabinet was here during,
Oh,
it looks like it.
I bet it was. I bet it was. It looks like it's been here forever. And you think the rooms will be this big in a new school?
No, they're not.
No,
No,
no.
they're not.
That's one thing. The facility's old, but the teachers sure had some space to spread out. And one thing that I remember from elementary school was that when you paid sales tax, they used to give you paper stamps. They were maybe 1.5 inches square or so.
Green stamps and
Green
blue
stamp,
stamps.
yeah, you got it. And the schools could redeem those stamps and get money back for the school to spend on things for the school. And we had these little plastic round containers. I don't know where they came from.
Probably just jars.
A lot of plastics companies in Elyria, you know.
Oh, okay.
And they weren't jars with lids. They were just open containers. But the teacher would tape on the outside, like if it was for a 1-cent stamp or a dollar stamp, you know. And I think there were some were $5 maybe, you know, which would have been a lot. And we'd bring the stamps in and put them in the different containers, and sometimes they had a contest to see which room could bring in the most stamps, you know, and all that. The PTA would, I don't know what they would do, but, you know. So the room across the hall, I had 2 different years. I spent a lot of time in this room, Amy. I was so dumb they held me back, and no, I'm teasing. Okay, I had first grade in this room with Mrs. Pierce, and the classes were huge. It was post-war, baby boom. As I was a teacher later, I couldn't imagine having had 35, 40 kids, wow. You know, but you know, there were kids that goofed off, obviously, but I think the majority of us were sent to school to learn. Our parents drilled that into us. So many of our parents had lost opportunities in the workforce, maybe even to try and go to college or some sort of training because of the Depression and World War II. And they wanted us, now that was behind them, they wanted us to reap the benefit of education and go on and do something in our lives. And there was no nonsense at home. And I know it wasn't just because my mom was a teacher. Mm-hmm. I know other families were the same way. If we went home and, you know, were upset with our teacher for some reason, parents didn't want to hear about it. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it wasn't anything abusive, but it was, you have to learn how to get along. That's your teacher. She's there, he's there to teach you. You go there to learn, you know. It doesn't matter if you like last year's teacher better than this year. You're still there to learn, sure. You know. And maybe that helped when the classes were so large. I'm trying to remember first grade. We had a thermometer that was made out of construction paper, and we had one outside the window. And I remember that every day we, somebody, you know, got to look out and see what the temperature was, and then we could make our thermometer go to that point, you know, and probably had masking tape behind it or something, you know. Another thing I remember, and this is not PC today, is that we started the day with a Bible passage. Somebody would read something, and of course the Pledge of Allegiance, every day, for sure. And the flag would have been on the wall probably. The way I remember the room, that was, you know, we faced that way. So that was basically the front of the room. Now, when I came back to this room for 4th grade, it was Mr. Godby, and that was my first male teacher, and he was the assistant principal. And there was a desk there with a candlestick phone on it, you know, the kind where yeah. And he had to have a dependable student sit at that desk, and if the principal's office didn't answer after X number of rings, then the student there had to pick it up and find out who it was and, you know, ask them if they could wait a moment or tell Mr. Godby or whatever. And sometimes I did that, you know.
Feel important, huh?
Well, you know, it was different. I'm trying to remember how often it rang before we were supposed to pick it up. It seems like maybe 3-4 times. But, you know, I was into sports, and my dad wasn't. God love him. He took me to a lot of games, even though it really wasn't his thing. But I remember Mr. Godby taking me to some of the junior high, like they had playoffs in basketball at the end of the season. And they had 6th grade teams then. And they'd have playoffs. And I remember him taking me to some of the games because he knew I was really interested. And at the end of our 4th grade year, that's when we're going to leave McKinley, the boys, you know, it was gender-based back then. The boys were going to play a baseball game against the other 4th grade. And we knew from who was in Little League that they had more talent in the other room, okay? We had some decent players, but they had more. And we're supposed to play out on the diamond, you know, hardball game, as part of the year-end field day events. And Mr. Godby picked me to be the captain of our team. I had to decide the lineup and all that. Well, I was really worried about getting drubbed. And I put together the best lineup I could, and the day of the big game, it rained like crazy that morning. And I thought, we're not going to play. As much as I love baseball, I didn't really want them to have bragging rights. Well, it turned out that it only rained in the morning. So Mr. Godby said that we were going to play wiffle ball instead on the blacktop. And this was like the big fun ball, you know, the hard wiffle ball with the big circles in it. Underhand pitching. And I was stunned because a number of these good ball players from the other class, they were upstairs, they couldn't hit the underhand pitching. And our class won, actually quite handily. and at first, it was like, we're still in this, you know? And then later it was like, we're 5 runs up. I think we're going to win. You know? And of course, the other group, you know, well, if we'd have played hardball, we'd have won. You know, that wasn't fair. Blah blah blah. You know, but that was a real good memory to end 4th grade. So, but I do remember Mr. Godby. I don't know why I remember this, but we had 42 kids in here for 4th grade, and you know, we all learned. There was not a whole bunch of people in that cloakroom. There wasn't a whole bunch of people up to the office. I mean, you know, whatever. He had control of the group, and we learned, you know. So it's a different time.
Yeah.
Different time. But this room brings back a lot because I spent 2 years in here. So.
What grades was it?
1st and 4th. 1st and 4th. And I'll bet you that cupboard over there was there then too.
Yeah.
It had to be. The windows are different. They changed all the windows out at some point. But
Yeah, because they're metal.
I see they never gave them green boards, though.
Those are probably the original chalkboards, right?
Yep, have to be.
I like that about these rooms.
Yeah.
The original chalkboards.
So when I was teaching, they had put the green over the black,
Oh,
you know, and we used rubber erasers that weren't worth a hoot.
yeah.
You know, every so often I'd have to get wet towels and wash because I'll tell you those, well, and I had up at Elyria High, I had one of the old felt erasers and it was much better getting the chalk off.
Yeah.
So,
Now it's all done on a computer.
well, a kind of a neat memory that I have of this space, but I don't remember what year it was. But you have to picture it without these fire breaks in here.
Okay.
But right before Christmas break, we had the party when the PTA moms would bring in the cookies and all the goodies. And the whole school met out in this area and sang Christmas carols. And that was really cool. And the way I remember it is some were on the floor and some were on the steps at either end. I don't remember exactly how many students that was, but that was something that you don't do today. But it was a neat thing to have all the K through 4 out in this area doing that.
Must have sounded really nice. All those kids' voices together singing.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Christmas
did. I'm sure it did, yeah. This office was not in the middle of the hall at that time.
Yeah, because when I started in the district, this was the
Yeah, this was the
main
office.
Right.
entrance. We had the secretary's office was in here to check in, and then the principal's office was behind this space.
You know, I don't remember a school secretary. You know, I think later, like when my kids went here, you know, I mean, everybody knew Mrs. Vandemark, you know. But I really think that the principal must have had a secretary up in that office up there. He had to have, I would think. But the students didn't interact. You didn't report tardy or whatever. Maybe if you were late to school, the teachers made note of that probably. But I don't remember having that. I just thought of that, this moment. They didn't have that kind of relationship. I couldn't begin to tell you who was the secretary. On the other hand, the custodian was Mr. Smith, Frank Smith, super guy. You know, we all knew the custodian because we saw him around, you know, and he was very friendly and doing all the dirty work, literally, you know. But I don't remember a secretary, so.
Now over here was the principal's office.
And these were classrooms. I didn't have school in this room, but
You didn't have any in these rooms?
not in these rooms here, no.
Now here is, later on, this is where the principal's office was. So I don't know where there's a light.
There you go.
So what do you think this was then? They are plaster walls here, so it may have been added afterward.
This room was here. I just don't remember what it was. You know, this might have been kind of like a faculty lounge, to be truthful. No, this room was here, but it wasn't a classroom. But this thing right out in the hallway that became an office, that wasn't there, no. No, this was a classroom here. This classroom across the hall. Classroom there, classroom there. Basically 3 classrooms on either side of, you know.
No wonder they had so many kids in one room.
Yeah.
There really aren't that many classrooms in this, because this was before the addition, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it wasn't there when you went.
Right, but with the addition, they went also with 5th and 6th grade here.
Yeah.
See, we were K through 4.
Oh, okay.
We went to Eastern Heights for 5th grade.
Okay.
And I hate to say it, but Eastern Heights was a fairly new school.
Yeah.
So,
64, I think, something like that.
it's a little older than that. I think it was in the 50s it was built. I can't tell you the exact year,
Maybe 59.
so.
Marty, there's another painting behind you, a tile painting. I'm taking this one back to the office. This is another Mr. Mittler painting.
Wow.
That's a nice one.
I'm taking that one back.
This was one of your classrooms?
This was my 3rd grade classroom.
It's on the 3rd floor.
And of course, we would consider it the 2nd floor because we considered the other to be the basement. Yeah.
That's what people say.
But Mrs. Miller was my teacher, and she lived way out in the township. And she told us she had a son that was our same age. And of course, I didn't know him from a hill of beans. But then later, as an adult, there was several stories about him in the newspaper because he had a severe heart condition and he had a heart transplant. And he actually lived quite a long time. He did pass a few years ago, but they had some stories about him and the rehab and how much exercising that he did after he was healthy from the transplant. And I saw that story and I thought, that was my teacher's son. So, but yeah, Mrs. Miller was older. I didn't really have any young teachers. I mean, Mr. Godby, I guess, had to have been young. He didn't seem all that young, but the women that I had were older. But anyway, this was 3rd grade, and once again, we faced that way. We have green board here. We don't have the blackboard. Interesting.
You can see it's over the top, though, I think.
So, yeah. But
I believe this has been a 5th grade classroom.
Okay.
Most recently.
all right.
It's quite a view though, huh?
Yeah, for sure. There used to be a few more trees out there. A couple years ago, they cut several of them down.
Yeah.
It really opened up the appearance of the front of the building from East River.
It really
I hate to see the trees gone, but you really almost didn't notice the school driving by, and
Yes, it did change the landscape significantly when those trees came down.
I was pretty shocked when they did it.
Well, they were dead inside.
Yeah,
that was the
oak
reason,
trees
but
get
they
that way.
really did. Them not being in the scene really did open up the front.
When Ely School got their sign, I approached McKinley about getting a sign. And I wanted to donate money and see if they would put a little plaque on there saying that the sign was in memory of my mom who had taught here. What I found out was that Ely's sign was lighted and cost $1 bazillion. So we finally settled on this. It may be lighted, but I think Ely's had a real impressive curved top on it and whatever. But anyway, my wife and I put up part of the money, the PTA or PTO, whatever they were at the time, put up the other part of the money. So
It's a beautiful sign. You see it right away from the street, and
this was our favorite baseball area later in life. When I was like 14, 15, 16, and we just played pickup games. We liked to play down in the valley. Mm-hmm. You know, if you hit it over the blacktop path, it was an automatic home run unless it was caught by a fielder. If you hit it short of that, why, you had to run it out. And we had many good games down there. We did a little bit of sledding on this hill, but truthfully it's not steep enough to get really good sledding. And the hospital had a nice hill in front of the nurses' school dorm. And I don't know if eventually they got worried about liability, but gee, we went over to that hospital hill to sled all the time. It was, there's a picture of it.
Yeah,
I'm glad
I've
they
seen
have a
pictures of it.
picture. I've seen pictures of it, but we tried sledding here, and it was better than nothing, but just not enough, you know. So, but what a great property! What a great property! We wonder what's going to happen to it. So,
No one knows.
yep. Well, this was a classroom. I did not have school in that room, but just like the first floor, there were 6 rooms. This, whatever it is, was not in the hallway when I was a student here. It looks like it's some sort of title area or
probably intervention room.
intervention, something like that. Yeah, that's all different. There was just the 3 rooms on each side. My second grade class was in here.
They painted that one over there.
Yeah. I had Mrs. Rohrer for second grade. Isn't it amazing how I can remember every single teacher I had up through 8th grade? And then after that, it starts getting fuzzy. In high school, probably still pretty good. In college, who would know? Because in college, your brain is on a lot of other stuff. But anyway, this was Mrs. Rohrer's room. I don't have any real specific memories of second grade other than we did it, we learned, you know. Mrs. Rohrer was fine. She was not my favorite teacher or anything, but
If she only knew.
I have no idea what happened to her. I don't think she stayed here super long.
No.
Yeah. And that is where the other fourth grade class was. The ones that we took care of in that game that day.
The losing room.
And it's still fourth grade.
All right. That was Mrs. Ackerman's room. Or was it Miss Ackerman? I think it might have been Miss Ackerman. She was a good friend of my mom's. I do remember that. So, we did not do any trading of teachers up through fourth grade. You know, like they do now, like have one teacher for math and science and another one, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I never...
They start traveling in third grade.
I never did any traveling until seventh grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the exception that the system had art, music, and phys ed that went around the district
Yes.
and periodically met with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the rotation was. It didn't seem like it was every month even.
Yeah, they
But-
still rotate and move around and,
Yeah.
you know, have a schedule of when they're in that school and,
I understand now that that is a time that the teachers got a break from us. I mean, we didn't look at it that way, but as I was a teacher, I realized, well, that was part of how they got a break. Of course, they had the hour and a half lunch too, but
what about this right here, Bill? You know, talk about what that is? I mean,
Oh.
That's kind of an old feature there that you don't see
absolutely,
these days.
absolutely. Where's the gong though?
But don't pull it. It still works.
Does it still work?
Yeah, they still use that for, we'll have the fire department here.
Okay.
That's how they trigger the alarm still.
Well, thank you for bringing that to my attention,
Yeah.
Amy. That was a fire alarm pull. And dummy me, I can read that on the sign. I was looking for the gong.
Yeah, no,
There-
What is it used now? I don't.
No,
Apparently, it still
they
is
still
used for
use it.
that.
that is still the system here.
All I see is a spring up there.
Well, down. in
It
one of
must
the
be
other
attached
rooms,
downstairs
yeah,
to
downstairs
something.
You can see that we can,
We'll have to look downstairs and
Yeah.
see what the other end. I don't remember any little sinks in the hallway. And this is clearly new. Do you know why they put these here?
well, you know what, I don't know. I know we've added a lot of sinks since COVID in the district, but it doesn't look like it's
Yeah,
that new.
no.
So I'm not sure when that would have been added.
Yeah. So. Well, of course, both my sons went here, and number of their classes were in the new section too, because that existed then, and they had a self-contained day where they ate lunch here and everything, and unfortunately my older son passed last summer, so, and real close really to my mom's age. He was 47, she was 49. When I was 16, everybody told me how young my mom was, all of her friends, and as a 16-year-old, I thought, she's not that young. But boy, as you get older, you really realize, yeah, she was, you know. And so was Mike. But, so this is an art room now.
It's not.
No?
But I mean, maybe that's how they're using it this
Okay.
year. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it was
honestly.
just a basic classroom when I was a student here. You know, I didn't have any classes in there.
Yeah.
But,
We still have traveling AMPS teams, but they may have been using this room.
You
as
know,
well.
I will point out that crown, the cove, and the tin ceiling look that's in the taller part matches what you were asking me about downstairs. So my guess is that was always there.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, it must have been,
Yeah, I think
right.
so.
Yeah. And somehow in this space out here was the principal's office.
Wow.
Those windows would have been in his office. Mr. Von Brock was our principal. He was a nice enough guy, kind of crusty, I think, but principals back in that day weren't supposed to be your buddy,
Yeah.
you know?
That's really fascinating about that space. It's the first I've
But the
heard that.
stairwell has been changed,
Sure.
you know, so it's hard to picture exactly how that would have been. So, well, I suppose we should make our way back out, huh?
Sure, we can.
This has been a real trip through memory lane, I'll tell you.